Chapter 217, Cleaning Up, 2. Saturday, 12 p.m. Standing in front of a large wooden door, with a smile on my face, I rang the doorbell. Ding! Dong! Coming! Instantly a crisp voice rang from the other side of the door. Not long after, a beautiful woman came to greet me at the door. Clank! Ren. Just as the door opened, without skipping a second, my mother instantly pounced me. KH, it's nice to see you, Mom. This time I was prepared. Tensing my quads, I withstood the impact that came from my mother's embrace. Patting my body all over, I was instantly bombarded with questions. Oh Ren, thank God you're okay. Is everything okay in the academy? Have any more demons come to harm you? Did they treat you well at the academy? How dare that vile demon? Suddenly my mother's face turned dark. Noticing this, I placed my hand on her shoulder and comforted her. Mom, it's okay. I'm okay. It was only after the incident was spread on the news that my mother actually found out what had happened. Once she did, total chaos ensued. Every day she would continuously text me asking me if I was okay or not. At first, it was okay, but after she started texting every hour, I became a little firmer on my stance. After a long struggle, we managed to settle to one text a day. Aside from that, she, like my dad, was extremely surprised about my rank assessment. Ever since my rank and talent were revealed to the world, the situation in Galaxicus stabilized considerably. My parents no longer faced as much pressure as before. In addition, as a result of this, everyone within the guild now tried to get on their good graces. Life was now good for my parents. I was happy. Why don't you come in, Ren? Sure. Snapping me out of my thoughts was my mother's warm voice. Nodding my head, I stepped into the house. Instantly I was left speechless by what I saw. Although they did mention that they were going to give my parents a house, I didn't expect for it to be this big. Right after I made the deal with Amanda's father, the first thing he did was move my parents to a secure house. The reasoning behind this was so that he could keep better watch of them. I naturally agreed. As long as my parents were safe, I was fine with anything. My parents were shocked at first, but after I explained the situation to them, they naturally agreed. Thus, bringing me into this situation. What do you think? With a satisfied look on her face, my mother proudly showed off the house. Decorated with pictures and brand new furniture, the house looked fantastic. Large enormous windows appeared on the other side of the room, and beneath them, one could see the whole of Ashton City. White walls covered the place and sleek and modern furniture that had a mix of wood and white appeared all over the house. Staring at the place, I couldn't help but nod in approval. It's quite nice, not going to lie.
Aww.
We are very proud of you. If not for you, we would have never have been able to live in such a place. In response to my compliment, my mother once again tried to hug me. Brooder. However, just as my mother was about to hug me again, out of nowhere Nola came running in my direction. Squatting down, I opened my arms. Nola. Bwater. Hup. Jumping up, Nola fell into my arms and hugged me. Taking her into my arms, I lifted her in the air. With a smile on my face, I looked at Nola, who was giggling in my arms, and softly said, Nola, Big Brother has a gift for you. Gift? Hearing the word gift, Nola's interest piqued. Yes. Fua. Tada. Smiling, 5 teddy bears appeared in my hand. Nola's eyes instantly shot wide open. After a couple of seconds, throwing her hands in the air, she instantly dashed towards the bears and hugged them.
Wow.
Teddy bears. So cute. Putting Nola down and watching her play with the bears, a faint smile appeared on my lips. This was nice. Human, you're back. Suddenly, I heard a crisp voice inside of my head. Walking in her cat form, Angelica calmly stood a few meters away from me. Surprised, I greeted her back. Hey, been a while since I last saw you. How have you been doing? Better before than now. That's a bit harsh, no? Talk about sassy. That was the first thing she said once she saw me. Ignoring me, Angelica snorted and turned her head around. Humph, I've broken through. Oh. You've reached the Viscount rank? That's right. Wow, congrats. Though I expected this, I was still pleasantly surprised. That was one ranked bodyguard. Come, I meant partner for me. Come, Ren, lunch is ready. Whilst I was conversing with Angelica, I suddenly heard my mother's voice calling me from all the way down to the kitchen. Coming. With a smile on my face, I headed to the kitchen. Arriving at the kitchen, sitting at the kitchen table was my father reading the newspaper. Smiling at him, I greeted him, who greeted me back with a warm smile. Following this, I sat down and ate lunch with my parents. For the next few hours or so, we just talked and caught up. Manticore Building, Lock. 8 p.m. So you're saying that he contacted you? Standing by the edge of my balcony, I held my phone in my ear. Small Snake's voice rang out from the phone's speaker. Yes, he did. And, what did he say? He agreed. Agreed to the terms we offered in the contract? Pretty much. I see, I guess the fact that I was all over the news helped out in a way. Almost half a year had passed since I had last come into contact with Ryan. Finally, after patiently waiting for that long, he contacted us. With my face all over the news, and after having observed us for a while, Ryan had finally decided to accept the offer that I had proposed to him. When I said observe us, I meant what Small Snake allowed him to observe. Despite Ryan's genius, he was in no way capable of hacking our system. The only reason he could hack into our system before was because I had told Small Snake to go easy on him. Plus, he didn't really have the best equipment to work with. It wasn't that hard for Small Snake to stop him. But we've got a problem. Unfortunately, right before I could rejoice, Small Snake poured cold water over me. As a result, my eyes narrowed. After a bit of thought, I instantly understood what problem Small Snake was referring to. It's his age, right?
Yeah.
He's a bit too young. Ashton City law says that he needs to be at least 14 before he can work. That indeed sounds like a problem. I placed my hand on my chin and fell into thought. His age was indeed going to be a problem, since according to the law in Ashton City, kids below the age of 14 couldn't legally work. With Ryan being 12, I knew that this was going to be a problem. I do have a solution though. Fortunately, Small Snake seems to have thought things through. My eyes lit up as a result. What do you suggest? Why don't we just take him in as a trainee? A trainee? Yes, we can use the excuse of teaching him how mercenary businesses work to bypass the law. At least until he turns 14. My brows knit. Indeed. If we took Ryan as a trainee instead of an official member, taking him under our wing wouldn't be a problem. Furthermore, this worked in my favor since he still needed to learn a lot. I see, that makes sense. Regarding his payment, we can just set up a separate account with the money already inside. We can just give it to his mom, or let him have access to it. Since we couldn't directly give him the money, this was the most appropriate method. Super suspicious, but with Small Snake being the one who handled everything, there shouldn't really be any problems. After all, I'm sure he had his ways. I trusted him. Should I go ahead? Yes, go ahead. By the way, small snake, how much money do we have left in our funds? Vaguely nodding my head, I suddenly recalled something and asked him about the money situation. In response, Small Snake's voice became slightly troubled. Right, I almost forgot. We're almost out of money. Everything else aside, we've only got 5 million you left. I figured. I presume you've got this problem solved, no?
Yeah.
I in fact do have a solution to this problem. Great, whilst you figure the money thing out, I'll settle the things with Ryan. Sure. Tack. Pressing the red button on my screen, I hung up the call with Small Snake. Staring at the blue sky, I exhaled.
Ha.
I'm poor again. After the trip to Amora and after spending my money on a couple of other things, my bank account was almost empty. Just when I thought I had enough money, it quickly ran out. Suddenly I looked at my bracelet and sighed. Right, I guess it's about time I sold the items I got from Amora. Walking back towards my room, I made my way towards my desk. Tapping onto my bracelet, multiple objects quickly appeared on the table. Phew. Let's see. Overall, the number of items on my desk was quite a lot. I needed to carefully check the uses of each one of them through the status window before me. Clank. Clank. Useless, useless. This should be fine, useless. Staring at the multiple items on the desk, I quickly separated the useful items from the useless items. Since some of the items could only be used by orcs, they were naturally useless for me.
Phew.
This should be it. After 10 minutes of sorting, I wiped the sweat that had accumulated on my forehead. At the moment, there were 3 different piles before me. The useful pile, the useless pile, and the I don't know pile. With the I don't know pile being the one that contained items which I wasn't sure whether they could be useful for me or not. Clank. Quickly putting the useless and I don't know pile back in my bracelet, I stared at the last. Surprisingly, there were a lot more useful items than I had expected. However, despite this, they were still far less than the other 2 piles. At the moment, there were 12 items, of which 4 especially stood out to me. Name, Hand of Malice. Rank. Description, a glove that enables the user to increase strength stat by 2 minor subranks. Name, Mother's Kiss. Rank, not applicable. Description, powerful venom that is capable of dissolving the internal organs of the target upon ingestion. Can work on ranked creatures and below. Name, Seduction Ichor. Rank, not applicable. Description, very powerful aphrodisiac. Can work on ranked creatures and below. Name, Ring of Gravity. Rank, C. Description, a ring with 10 settings. Upon wearing the ring, body mass will double. Whenever the setting is changed, the mass will double with respect to setting chosen. TSS. Staring at the items, I drew a cold breath. If I had to be honest, I wanted them all. But I knew that I couldn't do that. Especially since the next major event was happening soon. Ashton City Grand Annual Auction. Just 10 minutes ago, everyone in the Academy received a message with an invitation to the auction. Being a part of the Academy, I got one too. The Ashton City Grand Annual Auction was a massive event where all sorts of artifacts, skills, and arts were sold. Despite how tempting most of the items in front of me were, the auction that would be held in 2 weeks' time had far better items. Plus, that item is being auctioned there, isn't it? There was one specific item that I really desired from the auction. The value of the item I wanted was quite expensive, but it would be all worth it. That one item alone could propel me to new levels. Well, if only it was that easy. There was just one slight problem with my plan. I did not have enough money to buy it. Hence why I had to resort to auctioning the items before me. Actually, could I maybe take one? According to my approximation, the item I wanted to buy was worth around 100 million U. The net worth of the items before me was around 150 million U. Perhaps I can take something? I quickly shook my head. Now was not the time to think of this. I still had 2 weeks to sort things out. If I was lucky enough, I could perhaps keep 2 items. Who knows? Ding! Suddenly my watch vibrated. It was Kevin. Hey, are you going to the auction? Well, that was fast. Taking my phone, I quickly typed back. Yes, I'm going. Great, I'm going with Emma and the others too. Wanna join us? No. I quickly refused. Rather go with Leo and Ram. Cool, I've just added you to the group chat. Does this guy not know that no means no? Ding. Auction chat? You've just been added to a group chat, time 8:32 p.m. Kevin, hey, guys, Ren agreed to come with us. Melissa, what's this guy doing here? Emma, what? Kevin, I thought you said you weren't going to invite any more people. Kevin, sorry. Praying emoji. Emma, what's the use of being sorry when you're not even sorry? Angry emoji. Amanda, wave emoji. Tack. Blankly staring at their conversation for a good minute, I threw my phone on the bed. I couldn't read any more of their chats spammed with emojis.
Ha.
Well, if I look at this on a positive note, at least this saves me a bit of trouble. With Emma and Melissa being VIPs, I could naturally get a better seat and skip annoying lines and processes. In a way, this worked out in my favor. Closing my eyes, I massaged my forehead. A thought struck me, hopefully, nothing goes wrong. I said hopefully, but I knew that something was definitely bound to happen. Regarding the auction, in the novel, it was supposed to be the next event prior to the tournament arc. Well, at least should've. Leaning back on my chair, I crossed my legs. In theory, there should have been 2 more incidents before the tournament arc, but given that I had pretty much foiled the Monolith's plans, I couldn't see how they were going to carry on with their original plans. The primary reason I was sure about this was because I had killed Professor Thibault, the main initiator for all 3 events. With his death, the chances of the other events happening were almost slim to none. But still. Just because I expected the events to not happen didn't mean I wouldn't make preparations for it. If there was one thing I learned from the Everblood incident, it was to always think that something will go wrong. Therefore, I quickly reminded myself to be on alert for the following weeks. Creak. Just as I was in the middle of my thoughts, suddenly the window of my room opened up, revealing a black cat. My eyes instantly lit up. Oh, Angelica. Welcome back, you're already done? Yes. Leisurely walking into the room, Angelica nodded her head. Jumping on top of the bed, Angelica curled up and closed her eyes, completely disregarding my presence. Seeing this, the edges of my lips curled upwards. She's sad that she can't see Nola again. Ever since returning from my parents' house, Angelica had been a bit moody. Though it could be from the fact that she was now seeing me again, I knew that it was because of Nola. Unfortunately for her, I needed her. And thanks to her, everything was now set. Placing my elbow on the armrest of my chair, I supported my chin. Staring at Angelica, who sat on the bed in her cat form, I lightly tapped on the other armrest of the chair. The edges of my lips curled even more. Tap, tap, tap. I could now finally finish what I had set to finish a long time ago. If this works out well, perhaps I don't really need to sell any of my artifacts. Thinking along those lines, I knew that I couldn't make any mistakes. It was cleanup time. Chapter 218, Cleaning Up, 3. == Gerard Lim, WV Pharmaceuticals chairman's son. Romelu Connell, both his parents are A-ranked heroes, and work under Platinum-ranked guild. Adria Forsetti, son of the elder of Gladiatori, Platinum-ranked guild. Jessica Pandev, daughter of one of the school instructors. Gabriella Lemus, daughter of branch manager of Ashton District Bank, one of the largest banks in the city. == Plaque. I closed my notebook. In it were all my notes on the 5 tyrants. Well, things should work out for now. With Angelica's aid, I've already made my move. Now all I had to do was wait. Human. Suddenly, Angelica called out for me. With her body curled up and resting on the bed, Angelica looked quite cute from where I was sitting. Angelica? What's up? You still haven't told me why you made me do all of that. That? Right. Though I've made Angelica do all the work, I still had not told her the plan. Wasn't sure whether she would be interested or not. To be honest, it's not something you'd find particularly interesting. Even then, do you still want to hear about it? No, never mind. Angelica quickly shook her head. Then why ask in the first place? Staring at Angelica curled up on my bed, I shook my head. To be honest, even if I had explained it to her, chances were that she wouldn't have understood anything. My plan was to instigate internal conflicts amongst the tyrants. I mean, why fight them when they can just do it for me? Of course, it didn't just amount to that much. If it was just that, it wouldn't solve any of my problems. My real goal was to make everyone turn against Gerard. The one with the strongest backing and the one I had to revolve my plans around. Only once everyone was against him would my plan finally begin. Fua. Tapping on my bracelet, a green card appeared in my hand. The time stamp. The card in my hand was why the 5 tyrants existed in the first place. If not for them, such a situation would have never have existed. After thinking about it for a long time, I realized that this was the key link between the 5 tyrants. That's when my plans started formulating. Having spent countless hours observing and researching each and every tyrant, I knew quite a bit about them. From their habits to their hobbies and basically anything that I needed to know about them. From there I was able to come up with a rough plan which I enacted with the help of Angelica. Whether it worked or not, I'll know by the end of the day. I'm kinda sleepy. Lazily stretching my arms, a yawn escaped from my lips. Having spent the majority of the day revising the information I had acquired on the 5 tyrants, I was understandably tired. Making my way to bed, I looked at my room. A thought suddenly struck me. I should be moving out of this place soon, shouldn't I? Right, I do recall Donna telling me that my room in the Leviathan building was just about done. Truly a pity. Just when I got used to this place and made a couple of friends, I had to leave. What a bummer. PAMF. Slumping on my bed, I turned off the lights and closed my eyes. Oh well, it's not like I can turn down the chance into going to the Leviathan building. I mean, we were talking about top-notch facilities with even bigger rooms and training grounds. No matter how much I liked this place, I'd be stupid to refuse. Plus, having enacted my plan, everything would sort itself in this place. All that was left for me to do right now was wait. Wait for everything to fall into place. After an uneventful weekend passed, it was Monday and the class ended at 5 p.m. like usual. All right, that is it for today's class. Marking the end of the class, with a quick
Goodbye.
the lecturer gathered his stuff and left the classroom. Hoa, I'm so tired. Stretching her arms, Emma lazily stood up and packed up her stuff. Next to her, Amanda did the same thing. Having spent the last 10 hours or so studying, everyone was understandably tired. Me included. As she was packing up her stuff, Emma turned around and looked at Kevin. Hey, Kevin, what are you going to do once you go back? Train. Putting his tablet back in his dimensional space, Kevin's reply was blunt. In response, Emma rolled her eyes and complained. GHH, do you do anything else apart from training? No, he is a muscle idiot. I quickly interjected. Elbowing me, Kevin glared at me. What did you just say? I apologize, I meant a deaf muscle idiot. Oi. Repeat that if you dare? Deaf muscle idiot. Fearlessly looking at Kevin, I repeated. Smiling, Kevin cracked his knuckles. Crack. Crack. It seems like someone is itching for a beating. You can't beat me. Oh. Do you want to try? Now that I thought about it. If Kevin and I fought, who would win? Despite Kevin's absurd talent and higher rank, I was confident in defeating him. The reason for this was simple. I knew everything about Kevin. From how he fought and his weaknesses and weak points. Book aside, when designing his character I added several flaws in his form and strength at the beginning. These things would obviously no longer be something noteworthy by the end of the novel, but as of right now they were easily exploitable flaws that could give me an edge when fighting him in the future. Still, that was just speculation on my part. I wasn't actually keen on fighting Kevin. At least not now. As a result, I quickly denied Kevin's challenge.
Nah.
I don't want to fight you. Too bothersome. Sigh, I can't deal with you guys. Staring at Kevin and I bickering, Emma's mouth twitched. Shaking her head, she took Amanda by the wrist and led her out of the class. Let's go, Amanda. MHM. Completely unfazed by everything, Amanda nodded her head. Turning my head and watching the two girls leave, I looked at Kevin and proposed. We should probably go too.
Yeah.
It was getting late. Probably shouldn't waste too much time chatting in the classroom. Especially now that I was so busy. What I should do next? I should probably TR him? Right as I was about to leave the classroom, I felt a tap on my shoulder. Turning around I noticed Kevin pointing towards the entrance of the classroom. Ren, there's a couple of people at the entrance for you. Oh. Who? With me not having a lot of friends, this came as a surprise. Who could possibly be looking for me? I soon found out the answer. Leo? Ram? Standing at the entrance of the class were Leo and Ram. Noticing that I had noticed them, Leo was the first to speak. Ren, how are you so calm? My brows knit. What's wrong with you guys? Staring at their faces which were quite solemn, I felt that something was odd about them. Noticing the confusion on my face, Leo flashed his watch. Have you not seen the announcement? What announcement? Check your phone. Seeing how clueless I was, Leo sighed. Frowning, I turned on my watch and checked my notifications. Soon the edges of my lips curled upwards. I see, so it started. To all those under Gerard's protection, after classes end today at 5, make your way to his room ASAP. If any of you are even a minute late, you will have to bear the consequences. Did you say something? Oops, I may have spoken out my true thoughts. Waving my hand, I quickly tried to change the topic. Me and my tongue. Oh. Nothing, what a shocker. What could have happened? With his arms crossed, Ram thoughtfully said, we don't know. Didn't we just give them the timestamp yesterday? Why did they call for everyone? Perhaps something big happened. That does sound plausible. To Leo and Ram, the situation may seem extremely odd as it had never happened in the past. Unfortunately for them, this was the scenario that I was waiting for. Looks like everything is going according to plan, at least for now. Still, just because everything was going according to my plans, I wasn't going to let my guard down. Fortunately, with Angelica back with me, the chances of an external factor disrupting my plans were slim. Ren, what should we do? Rumbling for another minute, Leo nervously looked at me as he asked for advice. I shook my head in response. We don't have a choice but to go. But let's go, I'll protect you guys. You forgot who I am? That's right. How could we forget? Given my strength, I was actually amongst one of the strongest people in the Manticore building. There was nothing to really worry about. Don't get me wrong, it's not that the people in the Manticore building were weak, it's just that all the other strong people went to the other two buildings. Anyone that reached D rank was extremely talented and rich, the chances of staying in the Manticore building were low. Because of this, it meant that I was one of the strongest people in the building. Leo and Pram also realized this, hence why they sighed in relief. All right, let's go. Sure.
Yeah.
Right as I was about to leave with Leo and Ram back to the Manticore building, I felt a slight tap on my shoulder. Turning around, I realized it was Kevin. After having listened to our conversation, he more or less understood what was happening. Do you need help? HM?
Nah.
I've got this. With a grin on my face, I shook my head. If Kevin joined, my plans wouldn't work. I knew his character all too well, what I was about to do was not something he would have liked. You sure? If you need help, just message me. I appreciate the thought, but it's not as bad as you think. Patting Kevin on the shoulder, I reassured him that everything was going to be fine. Staring at me in the eyes for a couple of seconds, Kevin eventually gave up. All right, if you say so. I'll message you if I really need help. Grinning, I flashed my phone. Sure. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. CYA. Waving Kevin.
Goodbye.
I hooked my arms around Leo and Ram and followed them back to the Manticore building. Time for a thorough cleanup. Chapter 219, Cleaning Up, 4. Staring at his phone, Gerard's brows knit tightly. A minute after, he clenched his phone tightly and swore out loud. Damn it. Ever since a couple of days ago, a rift had started appearing amongst the 5 tyrants. Apparently, the timestamps that the other tyrants had gone missing. Oddly enough, his timestamps remained untouched. Can't these retards understand that the reason why my stuff is untouched is because whoever the thieves are, they fear me? Although the other tyrants had respectable backings, if they were to be compared to the likes of WV Pharmaceuticals, they were still a level below. To Gerard, it was clear as day that the thieves had specifically skipped him because they feared him. Unfortunately, the others didn't seem to understand this as they kept looking at him suspiciously. After a day and no news about the stolen timestamps, everyone forcefully convinced themselves that Gerard had played a part in the disappearance of the timestamps. Hence the current predicament. Without a doubt, they were going to target the people under his jurisdiction. They wanted to cut his timestamp supply. Damn greedy bastard. Clank. Gerard, everyone has gathered. Suddenly the door of Gerard's room opened, and Noah, one of his lackeys, called him. Fixing his collar, Gerard nodded his head. Everyone is already here? Okay, I'm coming. Walking out of his room, Gerard closed the door behind him. Entering the living room of his apartment, Gerard saw a crowd of students looking at him. Walking around the room, he was instantly able to pick up the awe and fear coming from some of the students' eyes. The corner of his lips tugged upwards as a result. Thank you for coming all the way here today. Stopping before the crowd, Gerard gave a brief rundown of the situations to the students. In short, he told them about how they might get targeted by the other factions and that they needed to be extra careful. Where have I seen that guy? As he was talking, Gerard's eyes suddenly paused on a certain individual. Pale white skin and deep blue eyes. He seemed to have a faint recollection of such a student. Suddenly he remembered. Ren Dover. The talented youth who appeared all over the news. Right, he might be able to help me. An idea suddenly struck him. If he could get Ren on his side, he could quickly use him as a deterrent against the other tyrants. With him being one of the strongest people in the dorm, he could quickly crush all of his opposition. Without a second thought, Gerard pointed at Ren. You come with me. Me? Baffled, the youth named Ren pointed at himself. Raising his brow, Gerard nodded his head. Yes, who else am I pointing at? Follow me quickly, I don't have much time to waste. Oh, okay. Flustered, Ren hurriedly followed him. Staring at Ren's flustered figure, Gerard secretly smirked. I guess it's true. He really has no backing. This was going to be easier than he thought. You take care of the situation while I take care of this one. Staring at Noah, Gerard quickly ordered. In response, Noah nodded his head. As you wish. Good. Clank. Closing the doors to his room, Gerard carefully scrutinized Ren before him. After seizing him up, with a satisfied nod, he got straight to the point. How about you work for me? Work for you? Yes, I've investigated you a little bit. This is only natural. After receiving news about your talent, I started getting interested in you. I know that your parents work for a third-rate guild and you have no backing. How about it, work for me? I can provide you with all the necessary resources. Why are you smiling? Gerard stopped himself mid-sentence. The reason was that the student before him was smiling widely. Almost as if he was watching the most amusing show of his life. Oh. I'm smiling? Startled, Ren touched his lips. Noticing this, Gerard became enraged as his voice echoed across the area. Yes, you were. Do you think I said something funny? Am I a joke to you?
Huh?
Me and my.
Shh.
*TTY acting. Letting out a sigh, Ren brushed his hair up and silently cursed. This startled Gerard, who suddenly had an ominous premonition. Staring at Gerard, Ren slowly opened his mouth. I mean, how stupid would I be to work with the son of the guy who murdered Tobias Church and caused the downfall of the previous #1 pharmaceutical company? What? How do you know? Opening his eyes wide, Gerard froze on the spot. Impossible. How did he enough such confidential information? Apart from me and my dad, no one should know about this. He must be bluffing, yes. If not bluffing, how else would he have known? Unless he was bluffing, things wouldn't make sense. How did I know? Smiling once again, Ren displayed a map to Gerard. Pinpointed on it was a certain location within Ashton City. Meet me here after the meeting is over, I'll let you know then. Oh. If you ever tell anyone about what I said to you, not only you will die but I will slowly reveal everything to the world. Weakly pointing at Ren, Gerard shouted, "Why, you're just bluffing."
Huh?
Do I look like I'm bluffing? Halting his steps, turning his head around. Suddenly an incomprehensible pressure bore down on Gerard as Ren's eyes slowly turned dull gray. Instantly the world around Gerard froze and his body trembled uncontrollably. Pressing his hand down, Ren's hoarse and cold voice echoed across the room. "Kneel." Thud. With a large thud, Gerard kneeled on the floor. Without even questioning the decision, Gerard kneeled on the ground. An inexplicable sense of fear washed over him. And no, what's going on? Isn't this like back in the arena? Garrad remembered this moment. This was the exact same scenario that happened during Ren's fight against Haris. At first, he thought it was some phony skill that Ren had used to deceive the opponent, but he felt it. He felt the true horror that was before him. It was like he was standing before a humongous black mass that looked down on him as if he was an ant. He needed to know his place. Thus, Gerard gave up any thoughts of fighting. "It's good that you are not resisting. Please, I am sorry, I give up. Don't kill me, please." Staring at Gerard's figure for a couple of seconds, Ren smiled. Slowly his eyes returned to their usual deep blue color. Patting Gerard on the shoulders, Ren warned. "If you don't want such information to spread, I'll give you an option. Right after the meeting is over, you are to quickly come to the place I had previously shown you." Once again taking out his phone, Ren showed him the image of the location. After a couple of seconds, turning his head back to Gerard, Ren asked, "Do you understand?" "Why, yes." "Good." Satisfied, Ren patted Gerard on the shoulder a couple of more times before leaving towards the exit of the room. However, just as he was about to leave, Ren's feet halted in front of the door. Turning around, with a calm smile on his face, he opened his mouth. "If you try anything stupid, I'll be the first one to know. As soon as you try to call someone for help or send someone a message, I'll quickly spread everything that I know to the world. Whatever your father worked hard to accomplish will be quickly ruined overnight, and the people that you bullied and harassed will flock at you like mad hyenas." Pausing slightly, Ren nodded his head in satisfaction. At the moment, Gerard was sweating profusely as he imaged the scenario Ren had just spoken about. Without hesitation, he kept nodding his head. "Good, it seems like you know what's best for you." Touching the handle of the door, Ren slowly opened it as his expression changed to that one of someone who had just been scolded. "I hope you don't disappoint me." Clank! Those were the last words Gerard heard before the door closed, and silence descended upon the room. Asterisk. Not very far from the lock and on the outskirts of the central district resided an old factory, Thriven Industrial Company. The factory used to be an old toy factory that was quite well known within Ashton City. Unfortunately, after a few board disputes and corruption cases, the company was forced to shut down. Ever since then, the company has been left abandoned with no one wanting to buy the land due to its fairly remote location and expensive listing price. It was precisely because of how remote the place was that I chose this place as the location for today's operation. It was perfect since there were no cameras around and there were not a lot of people living nearby. Regardless of how much sound they made, nobody would notice anything.
Grrr.
Suddenly the doors of the factory opened and a shuddering Gerard walked in. Thud. "You're finally here." Smiling, I jumped off a machine I was sitting on and welcomed him with open arms. In response, Gerard shuddered even more as looked at me and took a couple of steps back. "Why you? How did you know such information? How did you know about Church's death?" Without hesitation, he got straight to the point. "How did I know?" Smirk. Staring at Gerard's flustered expression, the edges of my lips tugged upwards. How did I know? Simple really, it's because I am the author of this book. I naturally couldn't say it. Despite it being the truth, there was no way he would believe me. Answer me. Taking my smirk as a sign of me looking down on him, Gerard became enraged as he started shouting. If you don't answer me, I'll quickly send an emergency message to my father. Oh. Flashing out his phone, Gerard showed me the text message that was already written. With his thumb on the send button, he threatened. Yes. See this is my phone. If you as so much make a single move and don't tell me about how you know that information, I will immediately KHHH. Click. A subtle clicking sound resounded across the factory. KHHW what? Clenching onto his chest, Gerard's eyes opened wide. Looking down on his hands, red blood gushed down on the ground. What just happened? I didn't see anything. Before he could even move or do anything, his body completely froze and he found himself bleeding profusely. Thud. Seconds after, with a large thud, his figure fell on the ground. Tapping on the grip of my sword, I shook my head. Sorry to break it to you, but I really have no use for you anymore. To be honest, he wasn't really my main target to begin with. He was merely a means to reach that goal. Oh well, let's get this over with. Staring at Gerard's dying figure, I felt no pity for him. After having investigated him closely and discovered all of the disgusting things he had done in the past, I felt that this type of death did not do him any justice. He deserved a more gruesome one. Let's see. Slowly walking towards Gerard, I calmly picked up his phone. With Gerard having already unlocked the phone, I didn't have a hard time accessing his stuff and finding his messages app. Dad, can you come to pick me up? I've got some fantastic news to share with you. Come to me directly. There's this restaurant that I want to try with you. And sent. Having investigated Gerard very carefully, I naturally also investigated his father. With this, I naturally found a lot of things that I could have exploited. In this case, I managed to find a very interesting piece of news. Jana Lim, Gerard's father, was a very doting father. Whatever Gerard asked of him, he would do it. It was because of this that for most of his life he managed to get away with most things scot-free. Me asking him to come here was actually part of my plan. If everything went according to what I've investigated, his father would be more than delighted to come. This fact was proven not long after as Gerard's phone vibrated. Ding! You want to have dinner with me? But of course, I'll come. I'll be coming soon. Wait for me. Bingo. With a smile on my face, I put the phone away. Was I worried about Gerard's father not coming? Not at all. Given Gerard's history, him going to such places to carry out his degenerate plans was not strange. Since his father had covered up for him multiple times, he would know by now how Gerard did things. He wouldn't find this strange. Moving back towards one of the machines, I leaned back and relaxed. Now all I have to do is wait. Jana Lim, the current head of WV Pharmaceuticals. He was of Malaysian descent and was 43 years old as of today. His life was tough. Inheriting his parents' company at a young age, Jana was born with a heavy burden on his shoulders. Despite this, after graduating from a rather prestigious academy, he quickly got to work and expanded the influence of his company, WV Pharmaceuticals, rapidly. Unfortunately for him, the road was filled with thorns. With competitors everywhere, reaching the top was tough. Still, using whatever method he had available, Jana managed to claim the #1 spot as the top pharmaceuticals company in the human domain. After years of constant struggles, he had finally ascended to the top. We're here, sir. All right. The car halted and a bodyguard opened the door. Nodding his head, Jana stepped out of the car. Looking at the abandoned factory before him, Jana was taken aback. Where in the world? Next to him, one of his two bodyguards frowned. Something feels off, sir. Yes, I think so too. Jana agreed. Although he wasn't strong, his instincts told him that something was definitely off about the situation. Without hesitation, Jana took out his phone and sent a message to his son. Son, I'm here, why don't you come outside? Ping. Within seconds he got a response back. Dad, you're here? Come into the factory, I've got something amazing to show you. You two follow me. If anything seems out of place, immediately call for backup. Roger that. Jana's brows knit tightly. Nudging his guards next to him, he made his way towards the factory before him. Although he felt that something was odd about the situation, he was confident about his guard's strength. If anything truly did happen, without a doubt the guard before him would defend him.
Grrr.
Opening the door that led to the warehouse, Jana instantly saw countless old types of machinery. Gerard, Dad's here. Where are you? Looking around for a couple of seconds, Jana raised his voice as he called out for his son. Jana Lim, WV Pharmaceutical CEO, father of one kid, and murderer of multiple people who were deemed as competition. Suddenly a cold voice echoed across the warehouse, startling Jana and the guards next to him. Frantically looking around, Jana shouted. You! Who are you? Show yourself! After looking for a while, suddenly, his eyes paused towards a certain machine in the distance. Sitting on top of it was a figure wearing a mask that only covered half of his face. With a smile on his face, the figure slowly opened his mouth. Who am I? Now why would I be stupid enough to tell you my name? Chapter 220, Cleaning Up, 5. Where is my son and who are you? Answer me. Staring at the masked figure before him, Jana shouted out loud. His deep voice echoed inside of the factory. Apart from the masked figure, he could not see anything else. Where was his son? Who was he? Why did he target him? Jana wanted answers. Sir, he's no threat. He is only ranked E. With his eyes squinted, one of the guards next to Jana tapped him on the shoulder and reported what he was able to observe. Without a doubt, the masked man was only rank. Phew, okay. Jana instantly sighed in relief. Knowing that the opponent was only E ranked calmed him down a bit. His two bodyguards were both ranked. A measly ranked posed no threat to him. Staring at the masked figure before him, Jana spoke in a more confident tone. I give you an option, either tell me where my son is, or I'll make you tell me where my son is. I'm not sure if you can tell, but I have two bodyguards with me. Both ranked C, with your measly strength there is no way you can fight them, so I suggest you give up. That is indeed true. Staring at Jana before me, I smirked. What an idiot. What he said was indeed true. If it was just me by myself, I would without a doubt be taken down by his two bodyguards. Unfortunately for him, I wasn't alone. Lightly glancing at the top of the factory, I caught a glimpse of two yellow eyes staring at Jana from above. They were the eyes of a predator. Good, it looks like Angelica is ready. Unaware of his predicament, Jana crossed his arms in triumph. In response, I raised my hands up. Good, so you know your limit. Okay, now tell me. What have you done to my son? Sorry, but unless you hear me out I can't say anything. I see, so you want to play this way. This is fine too. This saves me a lot of trouble. Since you don't want to play it the easy way, I'll let you experience the hard way. Pointing at the masked figure, Jana ordered his two guards. Get him. Nodding their heads, the two guards looked at each other as an overbearing pressure started exuding from their bodies. Clenching their fists, they prepared to move. However, spurt. Spurt. Blood spilled in the air and the two holes appeared on the bodyguard's chest. With his eyes wide open, Jana witnessed his two bodyguards get attacked from behind. It all happened so fast that he was unable to identify who the perpetrator was. What happened? Thud. Thud. With two large thuds, the two bodyguards fell to the ground. They were dead. Staring at the corpses of his two bodyguards, Jana's mouth hung wide open. What's going on? He wasn't able to see a thing. It all happened so fast that his bodyguards could react at all. We were talking about two ranked bodyguards. Some of the best of the best. Instantly Jana's body shuddered as fear seeped in. Calm down, you've been through worse situation. Try to gauge what the masked guy wants. Jana forcefully calmed himself down. I apologize for my previous behavior. Please tell me what you need of me. If there's anything I can do, I'll try my best to please your needs. Bringing his hands together, Jana bowed. Having been blackmailed for ransom before, he knew of the standard procedure. He was very clever. By acting this way, he was hoping for a negotiation without coming off as rude. Whoever the young boy before him was, he wasn't an opponent he could fight. By acting this way, he would be able to preserve his and his son's life. He knew when to attack and when to back down. Hoo-hoo, all you want is money, right? I've got plenty of that. Whoever you are, even if you have someone strong backing you, you won't carelessly kill someone like me who has such a high status, right? I've already memorized your voice and frame. Even if you're wearing a mask, I'll make sure to hunt you down once I return. Jana Lim was gloating as he thought of the plan he had weaved. Smirk. Looking at Jana before me, the edges of my lips curled upwards. Noticing my smile, Jana, who took it as a positive reaction, thought that he had successfully managed to trick me. I did it. Now all he had to do was wait for the masked man before him to ask for the ransom. Once he successfully paid the ransom or whatever demand he had, he would quickly mobilize all of the resources at his disposal and hunt him down. Hopefully by the time I come back he's still not dead. I'll make you understand who you've messed with. Just the thought calmed his boiling heart. He was the kind of man that would never forget a grudge. For as long someone messed with him, he would make sure to pay them back 10 times. Very well, how about you transfer me the money first? Money? If I give you money, will tell me where my son is, and will you let us go? Just the usual thief that thinks she can take some of my money. Third rates. That's what Jana called such thieves. It wasn't because they were weak, but because they only wanted money and nothing else. Once their demands were pleased, they would immediately flee as far as possible. Unfortunately for them, they had messed with the wrong person. With his power and connections, he would easily be able to locate the identity of the thieves. Yes, I'll let you and your son go after you send me the money. How much? How much can you give me? 50 million. So that's how much you and your son's life are worth? Hearing the sum of money that was being offered, my voice became cold. Killing intent spread out from my body. He'll really kill me. Feeling the killing intent, Jana quickly waved his hands frantically. No, I was only joking. 120 million is all the liquid assets I have. I can't offer any more than as that would take months to gather. Jana wasn't lying. Most of his assets were long-term ones. meaning that they couldn't be turned into cash quickly. The only cash he had at the moment was 120 million. Look. See, I wasn't lying. Frantically tapping on his phone, he quickly showed me his bank account balance. 121,098,549 U. I slowly closed my eyes. At the moment, I was trying my best to keep a calm look on my face. 120 million U. With it I would no longer need to sell most of the items that I got from Amora. Opening my eyes once again, I nodded my head and took out my phone. Transactions in this world were easy. Just a tap on the phone and the money would be transferred. Moreover, since the phone I was currently using was one that Small Snake had given me beforehand and was connected to a separate account, I wasn't worried about anyone trying to track me down. Okay, send that money to this account. Extending his hand, Jana was about to tap his phone against mine. Suddenly, he halted. How can I make sure you will let me go once I give you the money? You don't. I shook my head. In response, Jana quickly took his phone back. What? Are you messing with me? Jana was baffled. A negotiation where the other guy did not even let the other negotiator propose any terms. This was the first time Jana had come across someone this stupid? Why would he bother respecting the term if the other guy was not even willing to do the same? Do I look like someone who is joking? In response to Jana's attitude, my voice grew cold. Instantly, Jana's back became drenched in sweat as he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Gulp. He really isn't joking. If he really didn't agree to the terms, both he and his son would die. No, this is merely an act. I can't let him influence me like this. Shaking his head, Jana clenched his fists. He couldn't give up that easily. This was merely a tactic the thief was using to take advantage of him. Staring at me, Jana took another mouthful of saliva before once again speaking. If you can't guarantee me and my son's health, why should I send you the money? Smirk. I'm not a man who goes against his promises, but since you don't seem to believe me, I have something else that is far more credible. Here. Taking a black box from my dimensional space, I quickly threw it in Jana's direction. Catching it, Jana looked at the box with a trace of confusion in his eyes. What is this? Wanna know? Open it. Click. With his brows knit, Jana slowly opened the box. Suddenly his eyes shot wide open and his body trembled uncontrollably. A finger was in it. Why, you demon? What have you done to my son? Nothing yet. But I sure as heck will do more if you don't send me the money. Pausing slightly, my eyes fiercely stared at Gerard before me. So? Yes, I will do so now. Left with no choice, Jana could only take out his phone and comply with my terms. Clenching his teeth, Jana was enraged. This bastard. After I get out of this, I'll make sure to skin you alive if that's the last thing I'll do. How dare you touch my son? I'll make sure you die a miserable death. Ding! A loud chime resounded across the factory. The transaction was successful. With a large smile on my face, I bowed down slightly and thanked Jana. Thank you for your patronage. Okay, will you let me and my son go NKHHHH? Spurt. Before Jana could finish speaking, a hand penetrated his back. Staring at me, his eyes shot wide open. With a trembling hand, he weakly pointed at me. Why? Why, you promised? I didn't kill you though? Angelica, my subordinate, did. Isn't that the same thing? Thought Jana as he slowly lost consciousness. Understanding what he was trying to say, I shook my head and explained.
Ah.
Well. You sir clearly don't watch a lot of movies. Whenever someone promises you that they won't kill you, it generally means that their subordinates will. This was such a common occurrence that I really wasn't sure how he bought my words so easily. Well, I didn't really care. I've got my payday and removed a scum off the streets. Who is your subordinate? Kem, let me correct myself, I meant partner. You're technically my subordinate since you're bound by contract, but I'll let it slide for now. I wasn't someone who cared about the technicalities. As long as Angelica was pleased, I was fine. Couldn't have her throw a fit on me. She was a very useful subordinate after all. Schwa. Stretching my arms, I looked at Angelica, who was holding Jana by the neck. His body was slowly getting thinner by the minute as demonic energy spread in the air. Are you done? Don't rush me, human. Angelica snapped her head in my direction and angrily barked. Raising my hands in defeat, I took out a black watch from my pocket. It was Thibaut's watch. All right, do your thing. Ping. Staring at the watch, Angelica suddenly asked, "What are you doing?" Me? Nothing, just checking how much they are worth. Since Jana was a prominent figure, he had to be worth something, no? At least to the monolith. Target. Name, Jana Lim. Rank, G+. Age, 43. Status, dead or alive. Reward, 2,000 merit points. What? Only 2,000 merit points? That's far less than me. Opening the watch interface and pressing on the bounty list, my eyes opened wide. To think that the CEO of one of the largest companies in Ashton City was only worth this much. Even I, a 16-year-old student, was worth more than double of him. Fiddling with the watch in my hand, I thought to myself, I should probably check later what I can get from the merit points. From what I remembered, merit points were quite useful for getting some extremely rare materials or artifacts. Moreover, it was completely anonymous, so no one knew who got them. Is it wrong for me to call myself a part-time villain? By collecting merit points, I was essentially doing the monolith's dirty work. I was also getting paid for it in merit points. Calling myself a part-time villain wasn't exactly wrong. However, GUH, why did I call them villains? I frantically rubbed my head. That was so cringy. Why couldn't I have come up with a better name?
Ha.
Oh, well. Angelica, let's go home, I'm tired. Shaking my head, I stared at Angelica, who was holding the corpses of the bodyguards with her hand. Gerard's body was there too. With her hand on their bodies, demonic energy slowly seeped into them. This was naturally done under my instructions. Had to make it look like this was the work of a demon, else someone could have pinpointed this to me. Couldn't leave any trace of me behind. Supporting my head with my arms, I calmly walked towards the exit of the factory. Now that I've finished dealing with Gerard, everything else should come down naturally. Though I've only got rid of Gerard out of the 5 tyrants, this was enough. He was the only one I needed to get rid of to get all 5 of them. I should get the results by tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. At least within a day or two, the 5 tyrants would be no more. I made sure of that. I'm tired. Putting on a thin skin mask to alter my face, I quietly left the factory. Couldn't let others see my face. Chapter 221, New Professor 1. And this is your new room. Stopping before a door, a butler wearing a slick black suit turned around and handed me a white card. Without hesitation, I took the card and thanked the butler. Thank you. No problem, welcome to the Leviathan building. Today was the day I moved into my new room. A couple of days have passed since I had killed Gerard and his father. During those days, a lot of things had happened. Like wildfire, the death of Gerard and his father spread all over the news. This was natural since Gerard's father was the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the human domain. The autopsy report said that their deaths were due to an attack by a demon. This was easily discernible from the fact that demonic energy lingered on their bodies upon their death. After investigating further, it was later found that Gerard was being targeted by 4 individuals. 4 of the 5 tyrants. This was all due to the timestamps that I had asked Angelica to steal. Stealing them wasn't actually that hard. Given that they had to be redistributed around to the other members, they were put inside of a separate dimensional space that was given to a distributor who would redistribute them. Only after distributing all of the timestamps would the distributor give the remaining ones to the tyrant. The identity of the distributor was naturally a secret that only a few individuals knew, and only after spying on them for the past month or so was able to find their identity and have Angelica directly steal their dimensional space. That was how everything started. After that, I did what I did with Gerard and his father. And given the tyrant's background, putting the pieces together, the 4 of them became prime suspects. Although everything linked to the fact that it was a demon who had killed them, it wasn't uncommon for people to hire a demon to do the dirty work for them. Such was the case for the Bias Church. Taking advantage of the situation, all of the victims of their bullying and suffering came forward and reported everything to the authorities. As a result of this, the 4 tyrants were now under the heavy scrutiny of the public. And checkmate. Like a trapped king with no spaces to move, the 4 tyrants crumbled overnight as their crimes became public for the world to know. Their parents weren't exempted from public scrutiny due to their involvement in covering up for their children's crimes. In just one night, everything that they worked so hard for crumbled. I naturally profited from this as I had made arrangements months prior to this event. Just a little bit of stock manipulation. There's also the lock situation. Besides the 4 tyrants, the lock also started facing heavy scrutiny. With this event and the previous incidents added together, the lock became the prime target for the media and the public. Is the lock a safe haven like the government made us think it was? Problem after problem after problem, the truth about the lock. Can they really secure the future of our children? Papers and news outlets criticizing the lock began spreading everywhere. The more light was shed on the matter, the angrier the masses became. How could we let our children enter such an academy when they can't even keep them safe? What are all of those S-rank heroes in the academy doing? Are they getting paid to sit on their asses all day? Anger. That was what the public felt. They felt cheated. How could the top academy in the world allow for such things to happen? Just how dysfunctional was the academy? Where were all their taxes going towards? The public wanted answers. In response to this, the academy held a press conference and vowed to be stricter and increase the security even more. This naturally wasn't enough to appease the angry masses, but this was all they could do at the moment. With the headmaster currently being outside of the academy, they could only respond this way. Asterisk. You must also warn the guards beforehand about any possible outing in the middle of the NI. Leaning against the wall of the hall, I absent-mindedly listened to the butler giving me a rundown of the rules of the building. Unfortunately for him, my mind was currently elsewhere. Things are going to get quite troublesome for the next few days. As the perpetrator of this whole incident, I knew that for a bit things were going to become troublesome. However, I didn't regret it. Not only did I manage to secure myself a lot of money, but I also managed to sort out the Manticore building situation. Leo and Ram should be doing better now. With the 5 tyrants no longer being a thing, they should have a better life. Especially since there would no longer be any more 5 tyrants in the future. I didn't just get rid of the 5 tyrants, I also made sure to eliminate any possibility of more tyrants showing up. If I just got rid of the 5 tyrants, new ones would certainly show up. This was just how the world worked. Once the strong guys were gone, the next strongest guys would take the empty position and act like the next 5 tyrants. It was an endless cycle that could not be stopped. After a lot of consideration, making this public was the most appropriate method to get rid of the problem from its roots. Fortunately, it worked. With the lock enforcing stricter rules, there would no longer be any more 5 tyrants in the Manticore building. My plan was a success. I no longer needed to worry about Leo and Ram as I made my way to the Leviathan building, thus leading to my current situation. Taking out a timestamp from my dimensional space, I showed it to the butler before me. By the way, you said that there is a time regressor machine here. How does that work? Do I have to get timestamps, or is there another way to access them? This was the most important information I needed to know. With barely any time to train, I needed to use the time regressor machine desperately. Especially since the tournament was coming up soon. I needed to increase the mastery of my arts. Especially since my enemies were only going to start getting stronger from now on. I couldn't remain stagnant. In response to my question, the butler nodded his head and calmly explained. Good question, you don't have to worry. There is no need to use timestamps for the time regressor machine. You may use it whenever you want. However, do be careful, usage of more than 5 hours can be very harmful to the body as. Clank. As I was talking to the butler, I suddenly heard the sound of a door unlocking next to me. It must be my neighbor, I thought. Turning my head around, I tried to greet my new neighbor. However, once I turned around and found out the identity of my neighbor, my smile froze. Similarly, looking at me, Melissa, who had just returned from an exhausting day of researching, froze on the spot. A heavy silence descended the hall. The first to break the silence was the butler, who greeted Melissa with a smile. If it isn't Miss Hall, how was your day? I'm currently showing your new neighbor the workings of the building. If you haven't met him, allow me to introduce him. His name is Rendover, and just like you, he is a 5th year. Nice to
Me.
you, neighbor. Awkwardly coughing, I waved at Melissa. In response, Melissa's mouth opened widely. No words came out of her mouth. Is that who I think that is? Blinking a couple of times to make sure she wasn't seeing wrong, Melissa's mind blanked. She quickly shook her head. No, I must be hallucinating. Yes, this is because I've overworked myself. If not for that, I would have never been in such a nightmarish situation.
Yeah.
This must just be a horrible nightmare that I need to quickly wake up from. Assuring herself that this was all fruit of her imagination, Melissa shook her head and made her way into the room. Completely disregarding me and the butler. Right, even if that guy was to come to this building, the chances of him being my neighbor should be slim to none. This is just me hallucinating. Definitely shouldn't overwork myself. Right as she was about to close the door, she took one last peek at her right side. Once again she froze. Hi. Amusingly looking at Melissa, I waved at her once again. This time, Melissa's eyes shot wide open as a blood-curdling scream escaped from her mouth. Why? It was early in the morning, 8 a.m. to be specific, and the lectures were about to begin. Sitting next to me, Kevin kept poking my arm. Why didn't you tell me that you were moving to the building? After Melissa's scream rang out in the building, almost everybody went out of the room to check out what had happened. Be it Kevin, Amanda, Emma, or Jean, everyone found out about the fact that I had moved in yesterday. I was trying to keep this quiet so that I could have a few days of peace, but Melissa ended up screwing everything up. Now that I thought about it, she was always screwing up my plans. Now I could no longer rest quietly in my room without anyone looking for me. Damn her. How could you move in without telling me? Still poking at my arm, Kevin kept repeating himself. Since it was getting annoying, I finally answered him. Did I have to? It's not like you wouldn't have found out. Of course you did. Why? So that we can celebrate the fact that you are moving in. What is there to celebrate anyway? Maybe because I had just moved into a new room a couple of months back, but I honestly wasn't that excited at the prospect of moving into the Leviathan building. Though it had everything I could ever wish for, it also didn't really feel that different from my old room. Just everything but more enhanced. Maybe it's because I didn't get a proper look? I wasn't sure. Perhaps once I actually took a proper look at the facilities available I would feel something. But as of right now, I didn't feel particularly excited. On the other hand, Kevin, who was next to me, thought otherwise. Smacking my back, he exclaimed, "Rin, you're taking this too lightly. Entering the Leviathan building is something that is worth celebrating. It means that your efforts have paid off and the Academy has recognized you. This is without a doubt something worth celebrating." "Sure, whatever you say." Turning my head, I replied in an enthusiastic manner. What he said was far from the truth. The Leviathan building was just something used to split talented students from the less talented ones. It was sort of like separating commoners and nobles. Still, what they were doing was understandable. With the world currently under threat, who cared about equality and that nonsense? Strength and talent ruled above everything else. Clank! In the middle of my thoughts, the door of the classroom suddenly sprung open widely. Entering the classroom, a beautiful girl with orange hair entered classroom. Instantly the classroom descended into deep silence. Everyone's eyes were drawn towards the girl who had entered the classroom. She had a rather petite figure and she looked to be about the same age as everyone. However, what set her apart from the regular students was the black instructor uniform that she was wearing. She completely looked out of place. Even then, no one pointed this fact out. There was a reason for this. A very good reason at that. And that was because she was Monica Jeffrey, the Sunset Witch, and 27th on the hero ranking. An existence that was deemed to be the next ranked hero and had a celebrity-like status, with almost everyone knowing who she was. Not bad. Noticing the silence in the classroom, Monica's lips curled up slightly. Arriving before the podium, Monica's cheerful and crisp voice entered everyone's ears. "Nice to meet you, everybody. I will be your new instructor as of today. I hope that in the following months that I will be here we will learn and have a lot of fun together." Pausing, Monica looked at everyone in the classroom. Her eyes soon paused on a few individuals before she continued. "I see that there are a lot of talented students here. During my brief stay here, I will try my best to make you all into elite heroes who will help humanity in the fight against the demons." She looked at me, didn't she? Staring at Monica, who was standing on the podium of the classroom talking, my mouth twitched as I noticed her eyes pausing on me for a couple of seconds. Crap. This was going to be troublesome.